All right. So today, what we are going to learn about is something called as a backup and recovery. So backup and recovery is a very important concept to understand, and almost 50-60% of your DBA work would be revolving around backups and recovery. So how do we take a backup of the database, and how do we use those backups to create a new database or to bring the database back to the same point in time as it was during the time of the backup, right? So generally, all the databases like production databases, everyday backups will be running. It is automatically scheduled. But again, if there is a point where the backup failed, then DBA needs to know what exactly to check and why backup failed, try to understand that, fix the issue, and again start the backup so that we have the backups for every day, right? So there are different types of backups which we generally take. Now, first, let's think about why exactly we need a backup. So there are various failures which happen in a day-to-day work as a developer or the application user or by a DBA also. So what are the kind of failures which we see? First one, we can say like a statement failure. A statement failure is basically the developer tried to write some query and he did not really put it in a correct format, and the database gave a error that I cannot run the query in this format. Or the user was trying to access a table which he did not have uh, grants for to access the table, right? So that is called as a statement failure. Now, for statement failures, do we need backup and recovery? No, because statement failure is just you wrote a wrong statement, so you can correct the statement and run the statement again. So no recovery required in that kind of scenario. Now comes second scenario where a user process failed. What do you mean by user process failed? User process failed is basically a user was disconnected from a session uh, without any notice, or a user session was abnormally terminated, right? Or there was some error which occurred at the database level, which kind of canceled the session. Or not only user session, probably application session also got cancelled. When I say session, it's just a connection to the database. So either of these got cancelled. In that case, do we need a recovery? No recovery required, because there's a process which is called as a pmon in our database, a background process. That process will take care of cleaning up these things for you, whatever the statement failure. Then third kind of failure is a user error. So for example, somebody dropped a table by mistake, truncated a table by mistake, or accidentally deleted or updated some rows in that table. So such kind of such kind of failures, do we need a, recovery? Yes, we need a recovery. And what kind of backup will be useful, and how can we recover that? There's a utility which is called as import export. So we will use those utilities and we will do the recovery. So if you have a basically if you have a export backup, then you can use that backup and do the import into the uh, uh, import the table which was impacted. Say for example, somebody dropped the table or somebody truncated the table. You have a backup just before that one or a few days older, then you can use that utility to get the table back. Only one table can be got back, or whole table space can be got back, or the whole user schema which had tables, indexes, table spaces, that whole thing can be got back. So there are different levels. We'll see that in a different chapter when we discuss about the import and export. Next one is the instance failure. Instance is your memory part of your database. So say for example, some issue happened at the server level and the instance failed. Some memory got hanged, or power outage, or something happened to the server. Suddenly it's off the track. So in that case, that is called as an instance failure. In that case, do we need recovery? No, because Here the failure is happening at the um, instance level, not the database level, right? So when data is involved, that is where your uh, recovery will come into picture. But if there is something happening at the process level or at the memory level, then you don't need recovery. The background process will take care of that one. Okay, so these are the different kinds of failures which might happen. Now, why do we need backups? So if in a technical world, if nobody made any mistakes, everything was without any typos or without any misconceptions or mistakes, then we would not have required backups. Everybody does mistakes. So what is the strategy we have to make sure that these mistakes are can be fixed is the necessity for taking a backup. So it basically saves you from different kind of errors: human errors, hardware failures, power failures, software errors. And obviously this kind of backup utilities are there, which makes our DBA life easy. If there was no backup utility, then you would have probably tried to figure out some other method to get the data back, or how to revert back the changes of the database. So there are just a minute. Okay, so different types of backups. So there are variety of backups which we can take depending on the necessity of the backups. So first, at a high level, there are two different variations, which is one is physical backups, other one is logical backups. Now when I say physical backups, again it ties you back to the point where the physical files are involved, like data files, control files, password files, parameter files, etc. Okay, so and when we say logical backups are basically which will help us to recover at the logical objects. Like for example, table spaces are logical objects, tables are logical objects. To recover those, we can take a logical backups. So in physical backups, there are two types. It is further divided into cold backups and hot backups. And there is another utility which is called as a RMAN, recovery manager. So that one also we can use RMAN also to take a backup. We will see in further classes how to use RMAN to take backups. Today we'll see just how to take cold backup and hot backup. All right, and logical backups, like I told you, export and import. So that utility we are going to use for logical backups. And there is another backup which is like operating system level. We'll see that one also today. Okay, further backups can be divided into these, so I don't want to confuse. Let's leave this slide here. Okay. So okay, so physical backups, it's basically which can help you protect against the global failure. Okay, global failure in the sense something happened to the storage, and you want to get back the database. That is kind of a failure where you might need a physical backup, right? Something happened to the network level, the database is not accessible. Some disaster happened in a location where a data center exists. In those kind of scenarios, how will you run your business, right? So if you have a database backup which can be used to create a new database, well and good. You have an time, you can ask they will ask the DBA like within how many hours this database can be brought back to up and running state. They will give an estimate depending on their experience, and within those many hours a company will have estimate like this database can come up, right? So physical backups are required in those kind of scenarios where some disaster happened, your whole database is not accessible. Logical backups are required when a small kind of disaster happened, somebody dropped a table, or they deleted some tables, or deleted some entries in the tables. So those kind of issues can be taken care by logical backups. So for physical backups, it's required to have the archive log mode on. We have seen about the archive log mode, how to turn it on and everything. So these are basically the slides basically explaining the archive log mode. So here we have two groups of online redo logs, right? Group 1 and group 2. So in our example, we had three groups. So here we have two groups. So here group 2 has sequence number 52 in it, and group 3, after sequence number 52, the log writer started writing group number 3 with sequence number 53. Now when log writer is sorry, group number 1, after group 2 he started writing group number 1, and when log writer is writing group 1, group 2 is being copied by the process called as archiver and creating a archived log files, right? So that is basically what happens in the back end when you enable archive log mode. When archive log mode is not enabled, this whole thing, the archiver process is not running and archive log files are not created. So again, how does it know where exactly to create the archive log files? That is set by this parameter log underscore archive underscore dest. So this parameter will tell us where exactly to store. And there's another parameter which is called as log underscore archive underscore format. Basically, it gives us in what format you want to save the archive log. You want to put that arc word and some context over there, which database will generate automatically, .arc, or you want to put .dbf. You can set in this parameter and it will create the archive logs in the same format. Are you able to see the top of this? Okay. So again, this one is just an display of how to enable archive log mode. You set the log archive destination 1 to a location. For that, you need to shut down the instance, because when you are not, when your database is up and running, your archive log mode cannot be changed. The database should be in mount mode for the archive log mode change to happen. And how do you enable the archive log mode? By this command, which is called as alter database archive log. Just 3 words, alter database archive log, that will mark the database into archive log mode. And once this is complete, then you open the database. If you try to put the database in archive log mode while the database is open, it will not let you to do that one. It will say that database is already open, so you have to start in mount mode. After open, you can shut down and take a backup. Okay. So any questions so far? Mukta, any questions?
Can hear me, right?
Sorry?
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? No?
No question.
Okay, okay. All right. Okay. So, like I told you, today we'll be looking at the cold backup and the hot backup, right? So what is cold backup? Cold backup is basically something called as an offline backup. So for cold backup, it's basically we are shutting down the database and we are making copies of the data files, online data log files, control files, etc. Into a location, and then starting the database backup. So it's very simple kind of concept where you use operating system level commands to do the backup. I'll just show you how exactly that is done. I will not make a copy of the whole data files because I do not have enough space for that one. So first for this one you need to know, so what all files we need to backup is what was this? Data files, control files, serial log files, password file, and the parameter file. Okay, so data files, how can I know the location? Select name. Okay, so consider I don't know what is the column name, but I know the view name. If you don't know the view name, go and Google, you will find out how to find data file location, right? So I'll just say describe dba underscore data underscore files. Okay, now I got the column name which says file name. Okay, this sounds like the name of the file. I'll select file underscore name from dba underscore data underscore files. Okay, so these are all my data files of this database. So I make a copy of this and I paste it here. Okay, now next thing which is required for me is control files. Control file, you can do show parameter control. Okay, so this is my location of the three control files which I have. This is kind of in a jumbled up format, so what I will do is I'll paste it here and I'll try to put it in one format. Okay, so these are my control files. All right, next what is required is online data log files. So online data log files, again I find out that $v$log might give me that information, so I'll do describe $v$log. So here it gives me members, but it does not give me anything like name. So there is one more view which is called $v$log file. Okay, I think this member will give us that information. Select member from $v$log file. Okay, yeah, so it gave me the location of all the online data log files. So I got online data log files also. Now for this backup you don't need to have your database in a archive log mode, because we are shutting down the database and no changes are happening on the database at the time of backup. So right now I'm just collecting the locations of the files to back it up. All right, then comes what else we want: password file, parameter file. Password file by default, always in every database data password file will be in this location, oracle underscore home slash dps. In this is our password file, and sp file or the p file also will be here only. So you have to just try to find out the location of this files. This is password file, this is sp file, so this is my password file, and this is my sp file. All right, okay, so this one, right? So we got what all information is required for cold backup. Only these five important things, right, for cold backup. So if you have all of this, whenever you take a cold backup, you can use that backup to start the database at any point of time. But uh, the content of the database started using that backup will be same as the date of backup. What I mean is, if you take a backup, cold backup tonight, and you try to use that cold backup after a week, then you will have the database same as what you had tonight, right? It will not have changes which were done on the database after starting the database once we have taken the backup, right? So tonight we took a backup, we started the database back, and we let the application do changes. So all those changes will not be there. So that is one of the demerit of the cold backup. So for this one, we'll try to take a cold backup. So now I have the locations of all the files. I connect to the database and I shut down the database. The names are kind of relatable if you try to put some logic behind it. Cold means the database is not running when something is any machine or something is server is not running, it is cold. So try to kind of relate in that perspective. Cold backup, database shutdown. Hot backup, database is up and running. Now database is shut down. So I will try to create a location where I want to take the backups. I, most of the time in companies, this location will be already set. They will have a file system set up for just taking backups. Okay, what I'll do is I'll create a directory here, mkdir backups. I'll put cold backups actually. No, let's put backups. So that is my directory backup. We go into this directory. So all my backups will come here. So I'll just copy this location where I want to put the backup. Okay, this is my location. So what you have to do to take this backup is, for every location, just copy this location. You have to run a copy command at the operating system level. So in cold backup, you're not running anything at database level. Only this information is corrected. After that, you just do everything at operating system level. So say, so these are the data files, right? I'll put data files. Put control files. And read log files. Just to try to make things easy. So these are all the files for which I need a backup. So here in Notepad++, there is a smart way of, a faster way of doing things. So you can record whatever you want to do. You see this red button, it will basically start recording. So what I will do is I need to repeat few things for all the lines. So I will first record it. I'll press the record. I just want to copy this one to, I want to put a copy command in front of everything and I stop recording. So in recording, what I did, I typed cp space, I came to the end of the file by pressing end button, then I hit enter and then I hit delete so that this next line character goes away. So I just try to rerun that one. It will just keep on running that. So I don't need to type cp command for everything. Okay, you can record any amount of steps in this one, just that every steps involved should involve a key on the keyboard. You cannot use your mouse pad strokes for your mouse pad strokes will not get recorded in this Notepad++. Okay, so copy this one to this location. Now again I need to put this location, copy this one to what location. So again I'll record and I'll do Control V and enter, delete, end, stop. Okay, so I'm just reproducing this. Okay, so all the location is gone. Now I have to make sure that the file names are correct. So if you cannot rename this file names, the file name should be the same way how it is, because what you are going to do to replace to use this backup is basically whatever the files copies you had, right? You will use that one and you'll just start a database from that. I'll show you how exactly that is done. This requires a lot of manual work. Here only our data files are only 5 or 6, but you will have databases where thousands of data files will be there. In those kind of scenarios, probably we can try to put another logic here and make a copy of those files. You will not do cold backup every day because this needs a database to be shut down, and none of the companies want to shut down the database so frequently, right? Sometime they're doing something big upgrade or something of the database, then they will be like, okay, let us shut down the database, take a good backup so that if upgrade messes up something, then we have a good backup.
There will not be any fixed time frame for this, like every 6 months or something like that. Only when you need
Few
it.
few times, few companies might have, but um, cold backup is very rare. But it will be very helpful when your other utilities are not available for you, like the database is not in archive log mode, then automatically your rman utility is cooled out, because for rman you have to have the database in archive log mode. They say we don't want database to be in archive log mode, so rman is ruled out. Leftover is either cold backup or there is hot backup, right? If for some reason you cannot do the hot backup also, then cold backup is the only leftover option for you. It's better to know than rather not knowing. That's why I'm just showing you how we do that. Over a
Okay.
PW over CL1. Last one, SP file. Over. All right. So all these commands, all you need to do is just, you can copy everything at once also. What I will do is I'll not copy all the files because I don't have so much space available. So I'll just copy one data file, and redo log files are fine. They're very small. Just copy. Assume we are copying all the data files. Just go here and just right click. I pasted everything. So it'll just copy one by one. In scenarios like application team might come to you and say like, we are testing some new application upgrade and we are not sure how efficient this will be, so we want you to take a backup. In those cases you can ask them, okay, what are all the changes which will happen during this upgrade window, just in case if anything goes wrong, would you need those changes? If they say no, we don't need those changes, you can say, okay, the best option is, let's take a cold backup. Give me 1 hour, I'll shut down the database, I'll take a cold backup. Tomorrow whatever you do, I don't care. If you want me to come back to that point, I can restore the database, guarantee for you. It's a guaranteed restore. No, nobody can stop you from recovering from starting the database from a cold backup. It's very proven kind of backup, but only demerit is you have to stop the database. Another demerit is your space. So if your all the data files space is 500 GB, then for a cold backup you need another 500 GB. But the other backups, they have many features where they compress the backups and put it in lower size and everything. We'll see that later on. But for a cold backup, demerits is you have to shut down the database, you have to have equal amount of space available to store those backups, and your database will come back to the same point in time when the backup was taken. You cannot expect all the changes done after the backup will be available for you. So that's it. This is I took the backup now. All the files are come here. Now I just go and start the database. That is as simple as that, the cold backup. So in an interview, they might ask you what are the different types of backups. Again, that's kind of a confusing question. So never reverse ask the interviewer what kind of backups are you talking, RMN backups or whatever. Just say whatever you know. Different types of backup: physical backup, logical backup. If you remember physical backup, logical backup, say that. But one point is, if you're telling physical backup, you need to know what exactly physical backup is doing, right? Or else if you are not confident on that one, don't go in that territory, right? So answer the questions in a way that you are ready to cover up that answers for you. If you say some answer and you're not able to cover up that one, then that shows like you just know half of it and you don't have complete knowledge. So if I would have if somebody would have asked me a question about backups, what are different types of backups, I would say a simple question: different type of backup: cold backup, hot backup. Cold backup, database shutdown, we take a backup. Hot backup, database up and running, we take a backup. Simple, done. Don't go too much specifics and try to keep it simple. And so database is started now. If you see here, where is the backups folder, right? So these are our backups. If you see, this timestamp will not change because those are backup files. My time is 9:09, but here time is 9:05. This time will be 9:05 forever. And you see this file size of the files. This is in bytes. So if I put b minus 6 star, so size of the files 200 MB, 200 MB, 200 MB. This is like 1.2 GB already, right? So it eats up a lot of space for us. But if the company requires some backup, they can guaranteely go back to ask them if they can afford a shutdown, and if they say yes, just do the shutdown and do a cold backup, right? So that is about the cold backup. Any questions on this?
Oh,
All right. So this session is ending. We'll join back again.
okay.